Larson.
Thank you. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this talk. I have some bad news for you. If you're an IT leader or an IT professional, your job is in jeopardy. And what I mean by this is that your IT budget is actually going elsewhere. Your business units are going out and procuring their own IT services. And this is shadow IT. You've heard a lot about that. So there are a couple of things that you must do as an IT leader, IT organization. There are three things that you have to do to keep that budget within the IT organization. You have to empower your end users. You have to give them the tools that they need to be able to satisfy the needs of the business. You need to innovate. You need to get back to the business of IT and providing value in the business applications. And as an IT organization, you have to start thinking about how do you transform the business of IT and really adopt that service provider mentality. So I'm going to tell you a story. This is Steve Mills. He's the Rackspace CIO. And I'm going to tell you about the journey of our IT organization as they are making this transition to the cloud. Steve is a 3-year Racker. He's been at Rackspace for 3 years. And if you're not familiar with that term, that's what we refer to ourselves as employees of Rackspace. He's serving 5,000 technically savvy Rackers. We are a technology company, and he has that added pressure of providing technology services. We are facing exponential company growth. He's onboarding about 100 Rackers per month. In addition to that, we're acquiring new businesses. So he has to think about how does he provide those IT services, all with that changing rapid growth of the company. So Steve has a number of IT challenges, and some of these may resonate with you. I'm going to pick out a few of these to talk about. But if you're a CIO or if you're a part of the IT organization, shadow IT is a reality. Your businesses are going out and procuring those IT services on their own because it's easy. All it takes is a credit card, and they can spin up cloud services. Another thing to think about as an IT organization, that IT continues to be very capital intensive. You have a limited CapEx budget, and you have to service these business units that are coming to you for new projects. And you're constantly reprioritizing your project budget against this capital-intensive business of infrastructure and servers and storage and networking and load balancers, all the rest of that. At the same time, you're managing a legacy application portfolio, and most CIOs today, especially in the enterprise, are managing this monolithic data center environment of infrastructure, of applications. It's all legacy environment, and you're trying to keep up with the demands of the business. So these are some of the challenges that Steve and his organization have. The other thing to think about, and on the last slide, is IT professionals love to play with technology. His team now is becoming a team of operators and maintainers. They're managing a data center, they're managing the infrastructure, and that's not fueling the passion of IT. They want to play with leading edge technologies, they want to play with whiz-bang gadgets, they want to play with those things and figure out how do I take these tools and these technologies and these gadgets and innovate for the business. But because his organization is spending most of their time managing and maintaining a data center, he doesn't have time for that. They're spending most of their time, 80% of their time, keeping the lights on. And this is really the reality that he's facing. So Steve and his organization had a choice. They could continue to maintain and operate this existing infrastructure. But what they decided to do was start taking a look at this and how do they outsource that? They're using Rackspace now as their service provider. They're taking all that IT infrastructure and moving it to that service provider mentality. He's looking at that demand overload and saying, I just can't keep up. He's looking at, if I don't do this, this shadow IT organization is going to continue to get bigger. It's going to take more of my budget and take that somewhere else. And what's also happening here is, think about this, as the business unit becomes more relevant and taking that technology budget away from the IT organization, over time, maybe the CMO becomes the technologist. Maybe they're the ones who take your technology budget, and the IT organization becomes obsolete over time. So Steve and his team had to think differently. They had to think about providing IT services in a different way. And as most organizations did, Steve and his team started with virtualization. And he started looking at, how do I virtualize that environment? How do I take that infrastructure? How to make it more efficient and save costs? But that's only one piece of it, because it's really an internal IT thing to provide virtualization. You know, as most CIOs, he's looking at, can I take cloud computing? Can I create a more agile, flexible infrastructure? Because really, that's what his business units are doing. They're going out and procuring their own cloud services outside of the IT organization. And as Steve is going through this process, he's looking at cloud computing. Cloud computing is not just a technology, but it's really a wholesale shift in how you deliver IT services to the business. So the way that you go about procuring, provisioning, and managing infrastructure is very different. And now you're doing that through a service provider. You're getting those IT services through somebody like Rackspace. So now he's on this path of transformation. He's transforming in his IT organization. He's thinking about, well, I'm never going to keep up with the demand, so I'm going to embrace this technology shift. I'm going to embrace cloud. And the way that he's doing that is adopting the service provider mentality. He's building a service catalog, and what this is he's working with Rackspace as the service provider, cataloging those common workloads, and creating a self-service environment. Now his Rackers are empowered to go get their IT services, all under the umbrella of IT. It's not a shadow IT organization. And because he's doing that, he's starting to free up his IT resources. He's outsourcing, he's using Rackspace as a service provider, he's moving some of that infrastructure over to Rackspace to manage for him. And he now can free up his team to start innovating for the business. And they are now becoming a true partner to the business, and they are providing innovation, things around big data, and I'll talk about that in a second. So how is he doing this? The first step is really to build out that service catalog. And this is a self-service tool for our end users. He's doing that, he's cataloged his workloads, and he's providing a tool so that end users can go get their own IT services. After that, the next step is tools don't work unless your end users know about that. So he's going out and he's marketing this, he's talking about it, he's evangelizing it, and he's teaching Rackers how to use these tools, how to procure their own IT services through the self-service tool. So the second step is, after he's empowered his end users to get self-service, to get things on their own, he's fueling the IT innovation engine, the cloud vision. So he's looking at cloud as a mindset. He's looking at, if I build a new application, where do I put that application? And he's got this cloud-first mentality. So his organization is thinking about new applications, putting them on the cloud first. And that accomplishes two things. The first thing is, remember the capital-intensive process that he has to go through to secure infrastructure. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He's going to the cloud first. The business can get what they need. They can do what they need to do. The second thing, an added benefit for the IT organization, is because they're not going through this whole process of securing that infrastructure and setting it up in their data center. If that project isn't successful, the IT organization doesn't have to figure out how to reallocate that infrastructure. If it doesn't work out, that project doesn't turn out to be successful, he can spend down all those cloud resources, no harm, no foul. And it's an OpEx budget, not a CapEx budget. So how is he innovating for the business? So because he's now empowered Rackers to get self-service, he's innovating for the business in a cloud-first mentality. He's taking his IT resources that were doing infrastructure management and application management, and he's turning that to something like big data. So Rackspace, like any other company out there, has a big data problem. He had a traditional data warehouse, and he had a data warehouse that was slow and flexible. It was expensive. There were multiple business intelligence tools that the Rackers were using. And those 2,500 Rackers were coming to the IT organization to run reports and batch processing and all of that. Steve and his team took that, and they created the analytic computing grid. And what this is, it's now a cloud application that's running big data for us. It's built on OpenStack, and it contains a lot of big data technologies. And that's all in this architecture that's built on the cloud. And you can see here there are data sources, BI tools that are all available now to the end users. And it's got a rules engine. So this is one of the areas that he and his team are innovating for the business. The other thing that Steve and his team are doing is really taking a look at that legacy application portfolio. So they're trying to figure out what applications can I lift and shift and move to the cloud so he can continue to free up resource time. So that's another area that he's taking a look at. So where are other places that he's transforming? We've heard about DevOps. I'm sure you all have heard something about that. But that's another area that he's focused on, and also retooling IT skill sets. So I'll talk about DevOps a little bit and how we're doing that at Rackspace. So Steve and his organization are taking the developer organization, the operations organization, and they're pulling those two teams together. In most organizations have a developer reporting to one leader and the operations team reporting to another leader. And what Steve and his team are doing is they're reorganizing. They're taking developers and operations personnel, and they're putting them into portfolio teams. So those portfolio teams support a specific business unit. And now there's complete alignment with the business, with the developers developing new cloud applications, the operators thinking about how do I deploy those applications. That's one area that he's focused on. The other thing that he's looking at is retooling IT skill sets. So here he's looking at what are the skills that make a Racker successful in the future of cloud. So there's lots of training that's going on there. We at Rackspace are also taking this out to the market. And if you're familiar, we just launched the Open Cloud Community, or Academy. And that is a tool or a university that's available to IT professionals as you're retooling your IT skill sets. So this is the Rackspace Cloud Maturity Model. And my organization, we go out and we advise customers how to start taking these steps to adopting cloud. The first one I talked about a lot today is IT as a service. So thinking about how do you think of yourself as an IT service provider. In this step, you're probably looking at test dev as the first place to start moving your applications to the cloud. After that, it's looking at DevOps. We talked a little bit about that. And looking at that cloud-first mentality. Start putting your applications into the cloud. After that, looking at retooling your IT skill set. So what are the new skills that are required as you move to the cloud? And here you may be looking at industry standard applications like SharePoint or Exchange and moving those to the cloud. ROI is another area to take a look at. The way that you think about ROI in the cloud is very different, so you have to start wrapping your head around what that looks like. And this is the phase where you're looking at legacy applications and figuring out how to move those. And what we do is we advise customers on a two-step process, transitioning applications to the cloud, and over time, transforming those applications. So you may have a huge legacy application portfolio. You want to start moving things over to the cloud or to a service provider so that you can free up your IT resources. And the last step is really iterating. As technology changes over time, as cloud changes, you're going to go back to that application portfolio, or you're going to figure out, what else can I move? How do I move this? Do I take that application and start decoupling the application so that I can take advantage of more cloud computing? So if you're a CIO and you have a data center and you're thinking about building another data center, don't do it. Why do you want to be a facilities guy? And this is not why you got into the business of IT in the first place. You're a technologist, so really get back to the business of technology. Start getting your teams trained on cloud, getting your developers trained on how to build cloud applications, your operations team thinking about deploying applications in the cloud. And find your first application and just do it. Just get started. So we have a number of resources that are available to you to get smart on cloud. One thing that I'll point out here is the Enterprise Cloud Forum. And we are hosting a series of monthly webinars where we're getting together with Steve and his team, and we're talking about the Rackspace journey to the cloud. And so I welcome you to join us through that forum. Joe's also on here. He's following me, but that's also one of the resources that we refer to. And the last thing is, your first step to get to the cloud is to call us. Call me, and we will help you get started. So I have a whole team of people that will help you build your cloud strategy and help you rationalize that application portfolio and get you going. So please call me. If you'd like to continue the conversation, I will be at the Rackspace booth later this afternoon at 1 p.m. And I'll be joined by Rich. I'm not sure where Rich is here, but if he's here, wave. I can't see you. But Rich Muir will also be joining me, and he's VP of IT, and we will continue the conversation. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Oh, thanks.